I'm Daria Shields. Welcome to my kitchen. Today I will share with you a recipe that is really special for me. It's very simple, but it reminds me of time that I spent in India a few years ago. And I learned quite a lot of different recipes. So this one will be very simple, nothing complicated. And it brings together also the seasonal vegetables that we grow here in Ireland in this moment in time. Kale. And this kale came from our garden, freshly picked just before filming this recipe. So we're going to use red lentils. We're going to use kale, as I said. We're going to use obviously some onions, some garlic, some ginger, and some wonderful Indian spices like asafoetida and turmeric. So not many ingredients, really simple to prepare, easy to digest, which is really important, so you can assimilate all this goodness. I want to talk a little bit about pulses, about lentils, for example, that we are using in this particular recipe. So what's very important is to prepare your legumes before you cook with them. They contain a lot of anti-nutrients, and some of us, if we have a little bit weaker digestive system, we will really struggle with digesting these particular foods, and they can cause bloating and very uncomfortable feeling within our belly. So there's ways of flushing out all these anti-nutrients from pulses like lentils. So if you decide to cook something like that, the day before, it is important to place the lentils or beans in the water, and you can add a little bit of lemon juice or a little bit of vinegar. So that helps to draw especially phytic acid out of the lentils or beans. So then when you cook with them, they are way easier to digest. So this is a simple process, and I'm sure some of you observed your grandmothers, especially doing things like that. I grew up with my grandmother, spending quite a lot of time with her, and she would always do it, And I find that in the past, people weren't actually even fully aware what was this process all about, but they were doing it. So it had to be, passed on from generation to generation, and adapted into this way of doing. And I see now that we, use a lot of canned beans and lentils. And unfortunately, this process is completely omitted. So we have a lot of these anti-nutrients within ready, cooked lentils or beans if you're, purchasing them in the canned form. So I would encourage you to actually, dedicate a little bit more time. And it doesn't really actually, takes too much. It's just, a few minutes, put it into the pot, pour the water, add a bit of lemon, and leave it overnight. Rinse it well before you use it in cooking, and the job is done. And they don't cook very long. They're very fast, especially after soaking. It will shorten the time of cooking. Okay, so it's a beautiful, nice kind of autumn winter recipe to add into your repertoire during this time of year. So let's get to it. We're going to start with chopping some onion and chopping some garlic and ginger as well. So let me get at it. So just small onion is enough. And just nicely cube it. Okay. And we have some garlic in here. 2 cloves will do for that. And also, this amount that I'm using, it will feed about 4 people. I'm using 250 grams of red split lentils. Okay. Again, you can mince the garlic if you prefer. I'm just chopping it in here because I don't have a mincer, believe it or not. I have to get one. Okay. Now I'm gonna peel the ginger. So we're not gonna use the whole lot of it, but I'm just gonna peel a little bit and get a few slices of ginger. You could also use dry ginger. It doesn't have to be fresh, but I like it actually. You know, I chop it into a little matchsticks, and when you're biting through it, like it's a nice little pungent surprise from time to time. Okay, let me put it in here. My eyes are watering a little bit from the onion. Okay, so I'm gonna just get a couple of slices of that. Okay, just stack them. And I'm just gonna, you know, slice it into a matchstick. It's quite beautiful. Ginger is an amazing spice. I mentioned in the previous videos, it has anti-inflammatory properties, it aids our digestion. So especially like, you know, if we're cooking with legumes, using all these spices that help us to digest the food better, it's really important. And in Indian cuisine, they know it very, very well. And all the different dals and curries are, you know, rich of different spices that really help us to break the food down. And also, like, you know, they raise vibration. They have so many wonderful properties, a lot of antioxidant properties. So they reduce the free radical damage of exposure to different chemicals and the environment in today's world. It's really, really important to include them. So I'm going to just place some coconut oil in the pan. You don't need much, but it's good to use a little bit of fat just to allow the spices to release the flavor. And we're going to use some turmeric. Let me find some little spoon there. There it is. So I'm going to put a nice teaspoon of turmeric onto the pan. And I have some cumin in here. So actually, let's do it this way. So like a, you know, flat teaspoon of cumin would do. And cumin, again, another amazing spice. Also reduces, you know, bloating, flatulence, very, very powerful herb for digestion. So the mixture of turmeric, cumin, ginger, and we're going to use also asafoetida. I have it in a big jar. That's a spice used in the Indian cuisine quite often as well with the dals and curries. And asafoetida also supports the digestive system. And it's a quite magical spice. It affects our pineal gland too, so you can experiment with that. We have some chilies in here, and you know, you could use fresh chilies. I'm going to use the chili paste that I have in here, and this chili paste is just amazing as well, like, you know, Middle Eastern recipe of chilies and rose petals. And it has incredible depth of flavor, so I use that. But you can use the chilies on their own as well. Depends, like, you know, if you have a paste like that, you can use it also. So I'm gonna just put a little bit. It's gonna be, you know, just a little bit spicy, not too much. Okay, so we have that in the pan, and the oil is heating, and the spices will infuse the oil. We're gonna add some ginger straight away as well to mix it with all the spices. Brings back a lot of memories when I smell all those spices. India is an amazing country. Definitely worth visiting if you ever get a chance. Okay, so we'll just leave it for a couple of seconds, and we're gonna add our onion and garlic in. And just stir fry it for a couple of minutes. It's incredible how much depth of flavor you get from, you know, just a simple combination of a few spices, a little bit of oil, garlic and onion, and the, you know, scent of that is just filling the kitchen right away with all this amazing scents. Gorgeous. And the colors. You know, I love cooking for that very reason. There's so much that we get from it, you know, from the process. I really relax when I cook, and I'm, you know, staying present, connected to my breath, looking at the food and getting all these amazing colors and the smells. And it's really like, you know, it brings love into your body, you know, it's amazing. So as this is stirring in here, a little bit more heat. That's lovely. And we're going to add the lentils, and then I can get into chopping this kale. So I'm going just to put the lentils in. So they were soaked overnight, just to remind you. So we are getting rid of all these anti-nutrients. Okay, and we can place that in here, and we can add the water. So I'm just going to basically add enough to cover the lentils. So just go by eye, really, and then you can adjust it as you're cooking. You know, if it becomes a little bit too thick, then you can add a little bit more water. Okay, so we're gonna leave that here simmering away. I'm going to season it at the end with salt and pepper. And the reason for it as well is that when you're cooking legumes, it's actually better to cook them without the salt first. They cook much faster. When you add salt, it's actually way hard. It takes a little bit longer to cook them to the softness. And in this particular dal, you could also, like, you know, at the end, blend part of it to make a thicker sauce, but you can also leave it just the way it is. I'll show you as well, you can, as they become soft, you can just with a spoon break them. So part of them will just thicken the sauce, and then you'll still have a texture of lentils in the dish, which I find very, very nice. So it just depends what you like. You could fully blend it too. So we're going to look after this kale. So the kale came from the garden. We have quite a lot of kale this year. Last year, all the kale was eaten by caterpillars because we didn't put the nets on. But this year we are a little bit more lucky. So you want to get rid of the woody stalk in here, from here, and just use the leaves. So I'm going just to cut it out. Or you can just peel it like that as well. So whatever you prefer. So I have a mixture in here, the purple kale and green curly kale. So as well, like, you know, it depends on you how much greens you want to add. And it's a great addition because, again, you know, the greens are alkaline forming, where the proteins usually have a little bit, you know, there will be acid forming. When it comes to plant-based proteins, they are way less acid forming than animal protein. But it's a nice balance, I find, you know, to always put some sort of a protein with greens together. And it just creates this balanced meal of the acid and alkaline forming foods. Okay, so I think that will be enough for us here. So I'm going to chop it hopefully no caterpillars on these leaves. So Kale is an amazing vegetable. So it's highly alkaline, but it also contains quite a lot of amino acids. So it's a very, very good protein source also if you're living on the plant-based diet. It became very popular in the recent years, and it's really amazing what fashion does, you know. In the past, this particular food was fed to animals. People rarely eat on it. I live in Ireland at the moment, so kale, you know, was used in the dish called cannon, if I'm not wrong about the name. And it's mashed potatoes with chopped kale inside, and it's quite delicious. And then I don't know any other dishes that you know kale would have been used. So it's really like, you know, has changed as it became quite popular and fashionable. We started to create way more different dishes, you know, kale pestos, adding, you know, making kale salads, adding kales into stews, stir fries, and so on. And it is a fantastic vegetable to use for many, many reasons. It's great tonic, it tonifies our blood because of content of chlorophyll. And chlorophyll, it's amazing. It's like a plant's blood, and it's very, very similar biochemically to our own blood. And the only difference is that in the center of the chemical structure, you have magnesium rather than iron. Iron is within the human blood and magnesium within the plant. So it's really like, you know, all the greens are great blood tonics, and they should be included in our diet. Fantastic for cardiovascular health. So I definitely encourage you to use it. I'm going to add that a little bit later, because what I like is that kale is still really lovely green, bright within the dish, rather than, you know, when you cook it for too long, it becomes, you know, slightly brownish, and it doesn't have the same, you know, vibrant effect when you're looking at it before you consume it. So we're going to wait for the dal to almost, you know, when the lentils are nice and soft. And then we're going to pop in the kale. And the job will be done shortly after, because kale doesn't take that much time to cook. And it will be just absolutely beautiful, the yellow and green together. It's just amazing. And this particular dal you could have with, you know, a slice of sourdough bread, or have it with, you know, a bowl of rice. You could have it with mashed potatoes, or any other, you know, healthy grain like millet, quinoa, buckwheat, whichever you prefer, or whatever type of grain you are able to consume. So it's really like, you know, flexible when it comes to that. And then, you know, pairing it with nice salad. What works very, very well with any, you know, Indian dals and curries is raita, which is grated cucumber with some yogurt. So I don't use, you know, animal-based yogurts, you know, the typical things, but you could use, for example, coconut yogurt or soya yogurt if you are living on the plant-based diet. So whichever works for you, but it really goes very, very well together. Also cabbage. Cabbage is very, very nice. Nicely shredded with nice dressing, with some sesame seed oil, sesame seeds. Delicious, really, really delicious. So we have to wait a little bit, and we're gonna cook it through and then add the kale, and we'll have it ready. Okay, I think the lentils are getting nice and soft. So we're going to add our kale. So just grab it and pop it in. Look at the colors. Like, this is just amazing. So you just stir it in. All this yellows, orange, green. So amazing. Yeah. Yellows, orange are a great color for digestive system. And green for your heart. So, nice color therapy as you're cooking. Getting all these vibrant colors into your body. So it can simmer for a couple of minutes. It doesn't really need much. So we keep all these greens beautiful and vibrant. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to season it. So I'm going to just use salt and a little bit of black pepper. And that's it. So let me do that. Okay, so I'm using unprocessed salt. That's also important. So you're getting a loads of minerals and trace elements from nice rock salt or Himalayan pink salt, whichever you prefer. Stir it. Smells amazing. Okay, and the black pepper. Again, will help us to absorb turmeric. Lovely. Oh, one got away. Perfect. That's looking really good. I'm gonna give it a taste. See if everything is cooked through nicely. So with kale, like when you add kale, like you don't have to cook it for more than 5 minutes, really. You know, it's enough for kale. So I'm just going to give it a little taste. I'm back in India. Amazing. Brilliant. Okay, so when you're tasting, just taste if there's softness, if everything is nicely, you know, blended together. Whenever you feel that the lentils are powdery and they're starting to break, they are ready then. And I was mentioning to you that you could, for example, you know, blend part of it and then create a kind of thicker sauce. But you can also just use the wooden spoon. And when they become soft, it's very easy to just mash them. So you can just go and press on the lentils. So some of them will basically get smooshed and create this lovely thicker sauce. It's just way easier than getting the blender out and blending it. So you have a really lovely texture of some lentils still intact and some lentils being mashed into the sauce. Okay, we are ready. So I have this really lovely brass pot that I love very much. And I'm going to place it in here and show you how it looks. So let me switch that off. Probably that'll be more clever. Okay. So it's all important, I find, you know, with food, like if you present it well, it just has this amazing effect on us. Okay. That's it. And at the end, you can just garnish it with some coriander or parsley. I find that even basil works well. You know, it's good to be adventurous. We don't have to stick to exactly like, you know, the recipes that we read, you know, like I find it's good to be creative and sometimes you can discover combinations of flavor that you have not tasted before, but they're absolutely magical. So just go with it, you know. So I have parsley in here chopped, so I'm just gonna add parsley, but you can choose whichever works for you. And just try things out and see how it influences the total flavor of a dish. So here we go. This amazing red lentil dal with kale. So guys, thank you so much for tuning into this video. I hope you will try this recipe and you will enjoy it as much as I do. Thank you so much. All the best to you all. Much love. Take care of yourselves.